Welcome to the nightclub. I'm your host, Night Wrencher. I haven't had a lot of time to post a couple videos lately, mainly because I've been stuck between a couple of big projects. But I was having a conversation with the gentleman at the parts store earlier today, and it got me thinking a little bit. As you guys might know, I have a '91 Toyota pickup, and it's got the infamous 3.0 3VZE V6. The 3VZ has always had a very bad rap along all kinds of communities, the off-road community, the racing community, and even people that have owned trucks with the V6. They've learned to hate the engine due to it being unreliable and underpowered. Um, and it got me thinking, and I've researched this a couple of times as to why it's so underpowered and why people hate it so much. Um, and I started digging up a couple of pieces of information that I thought I might share with you guys to shed a little bit of light onto this subject known as the infamous 3VZE. So basically, starting with the 3VZE was released in 1988. During that time, smog laws were pretty tight. They're tighter now, but in that era, due to limited um, technology inside vehicles, they weren't able to fully optimize all the engines that were produced. So a lot of band-aid fixes were implemented, which limited a lot of power on all the engines during those years. One thing I'd like to point out is that along the 3VZE, other OEMs had their own engines put out, primarily the big three, Ford, Chevy, and Dodge, um, which interestingly don't get that much of a bad rap in comparison to the 3VZE. And I think um, that's odd. Made me a little bit uneasy. Um, but like I said, let's go ahead and dig into this and figure out what the truth is and if the 3VZE really is as bad as people say. So like I said, a lot of OEMs didn't have a lot of technology to put behind their vehicles. I'm gonna go ahead and start off with talking about the Dodge LA V6 engine. The LA V6 engine was basically a 318, a small block that had two cylinders chopped off. Um, and what ended up happening was that, as far as I know, during its release in 1987 and right before the Magnum update in 1992, it was only pushing around 125 horsepower and 195 pounds of torque. It was a 90-degree engine, so the two banks were pretty far apart. The bore is listed at 99.3 millimeters. The stroke is listed at 84 millimeters. Originally came out with a 2-barrel carburetor, and then it ended up having a throttle body injection. But according to different articles, power output didn't really change right until the Magnum update in 1993, which pushed it to 180 horsepower. But I'm not counting the 1993 update because several engines were released in right around 1991, 1992, 93, 94 that produced a lot more power than the engines I'm about to list. So the Magnum update, unfortunately, I cannot include in this list. But keep in mind that these figures are from a very small window. The engines I'm talking about were more or less from when they were released, from 1985 to 1989. Alright, so let's go ahead and jump into this. I'll start by throwing out the specs on the 3.0 V6. Horsepower comes out to 150 horsepower. Torque comes out to 180 horsepower. The engine is actually a 60-degree design, so it's a little bit more narrow. Bore comes out to 87.5 millimeters, and stroke comes out to 82 millimeters. Through all of the years of production, this engine came with a multi-port batch fuel injection, and what that is that it's, although each cylinder has an individual injector, due to hardware limitations, the injectors have to fire twice per cycle, and the reason is that at the time Toyota couldn't manage to successfully create a multi-port firing computer, so they had to recycle one for the 4-cylinder. Alright, getting into the nitty gritty, I'm going to go ahead and start talking about the engine designs. People don't really talk about the width of the motors. For good reason, it really doesn't matter too much. But for sake of argument, I'm going to go ahead and talk about it for a little bit. The 3.0 is a 60-degree engine, and the 3.9 is a 90-degree engine. What that means is that the 3VZ is actually a more narrow engine, a more compact motor. As you guys might know, anything close to inline produces the most amount of torque. That's why W motors and inline motors produce so much torque, and it's because of their nature. The only downfall to that is that they produce more vibrations, but that's not something we want to really get into right now. The point is, for the engine design, I give the win to the 3.0. Horsepower. The Dodge 3.9 makes 125 horsepower. The 3.0 puts out 150 horsepower. So that, I give that win to the 3.0. I can already hear the screaming viewers. Oh, torque wins races. Alright, so let's talk about torque. The 3.9 puts out 195 pounds of torque, and the 3VZE actually puts out only 180 pounds of torque. So if I guess you're having a torque race, the 3.9 would take that win. The bore and stroke on the 3VZ is 87.5 and stroke is 82, whereas the 3.9 is a 99.3 and an 84 millimeter stroke. That's probably where it's getting the extra 15 pounds of torque. One more thing I'd like to add is that the Ford, Chevy, and this Dodge motor all have cast iron heads and cast iron block, whereas the 3VZ has a cast iron block, but it has aluminum heads, and what that does is it lowers the chance of pre-detonation. I'm not including that in this argument because it's a little bit irrelevant, because that's not exactly what we're talking about. I know for a fact that the 3VZ, the 2.9, the 4.3, and the 3.9 all had head gasket problems. So the fact that the 3.0 blows head gaskets, they all blow head gaskets, so that's not really something I really want to get into or talk about at the moment. On the fuel management system, the batch fire versus a 2-barrel carb or the throttle body injection, I've actually heard really good things about throttle body injection. They're simple, they're easy to use, they're easy to install, they're easy to maintain. I've had a couple of TBI motors and they've all ran flawlessly. The multi-port batch, I believe it's a little flawed. It's pretty much just a band-aid fix for what they could do at the time. If somebody took the time to make a better ECU, I'm sure it'd produce better results, but as of right now, I'll give that win to the 3.9. Alright, so here's where we're at. 3 points for the 3.0, 3 points for the 3.9. Here's where I'm going to piss a lot of people off. I'm going to show you something really neat. If we take the Dodge 3.9 liters and we put it into an equation with the horsepower and torque numbers, that's where you take the horsepower number and divide it by the displacement. Then you take the torque number and do the same thing. And when you do that, you get something really cool. Horsepower per liter is what you get. And on this motor, it's 32.1 horsepower. And on torque, you're getting 50 pounds of torque per liter. Alright, so not bad. Now let's go ahead and do the 3VZ. We take the displacement, we take the specs. Horsepower, 53.3 horsepower per liter. Okay, torque. Well, torque wins races, right? We're actually getting 60 pounds of torque per liter. Alright, so I don't know about you guys, but 60 minus 50, that's 10. So actually, where the Dodge 3.9 was winning in overall torque, the 3.0 actually wins in efficiency. Same thing with horsepower. The 3.0 was already winning in horsepower, and after we divided this up, it turns out the 3VZ actually beats it by 20 horsepower per liter. And that's something really astounding. So this win actually is taken by the 3.0. If you guys disagree, or if you guys need anything to say or want anything to add, go ahead and fill out the comments section below or send me a private message. This is all for fun. I hope nobody takes this serious. I just thought I'd put this out there and give a different perspective to what we all thought was a useless motor. And feel free to like and subscribe my videos so I can keep putting out more. What I will do for sure is, as soon as I get a free chance, I'll go ahead and post up my Ford and Chevy videos that are going to be the following two videos after this one. So you guys have something to look forward to in the near future. I hope you guys enjoyed my video. I really hope to hear from you guys. Stay tuned, and until next time, Night Wrencher, out.